Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're tuning in from, or if you're watching the replay of this, welcome officially to the rewind of Lil Natty and Thunda, as well as This is Jab Jab. I am Chrislyn Lashington, your host as well as producer for Upstage TV show. And joining me today are some amazing people. So, of course, we have joining the panel discussion Adrian Charles. He is an entrepreneur, director of events at the Toronto Caribbean Carnival, as well as CEO of Lexus Promotion. Also in the building, Sabrina Francis. She is a recording artist with an amazing voice. And also Junior George, also an entrepreneur, cultural ambassador, I like to call him, representing for Grenada in New York and across the Caribbean diaspora, as well as CEO of Ride Along Media and spokesperson for emoji.com, which is a new social media platform. And also, Dexter Mitchell is in the building. He is the founder of Made in Grenada. And in my mind, I like to think of Dexter as a historian as well, because he knows so much when it comes to culture and history. So welcome everyone to the official rewind of two of the amazing shows we just had on Upstage. Y'all feeling good today?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Right. Yes,
Good. Now we're going to dive straight into it. Of course, you know, we did the Lil Natty and Thunda going up against each other show, as well as This is Jab Jab. So we're going to merge some of it in together. And first of all, I'd really like for us to talk about the history of Jab Jab that was able to be captured in both of these shows. So let's do a little rewind on this clip.
Most important thing about the jab is the ability to read and spell. Because the Europeans, as we know, used the Bible to bring Christianity to the African enslaved people.
Right.
And they didn't want them to read or to write. But in every little grouping, you had a reader. And he would have somehow get a hold of the Bible and Masahan and learn to read it.
Wow, that's where the jab jab spelling came from.
Precisely.
The main element that makes a soca song, Jab Jab, is the drums. Not just having drums, but the way the drum is played. Just having that authentic, African feeling in the way that the drums roll and the way they communicate, the call and answer, that makes the jab, as authentic as can be. And then now we add our flavors on top of it. We put our chords, we put our melodies, and the chanting. Chanting is one of the key elements in Jab Jab. You can't really have a Jab Jab song without having that, repetitious chant.
Talk to us about some of the other songs that we hear, we dance into, we've seen performed on this stage that you are behind.
Well, Simtal, Pretty Grip, the Jail Hospital. I did Mario Castle, Catholic. Oh, and the cell phone rhythm. Actually, the first. That was actually the first soca rhythm.
It was
worldwide.
It was.
Yeah, and I was the wit behind the
history. Legend.
Yeah, man, that was an amazing piece. Now, Junior, talk to us about what you thought about including that history of Jab Jab within those two shows.
Well, first of all, Missy Chrissy, I would like to say congratulations on this venture. I've watched you grown for many years. In fact, a lot of people don't know that years ago you did a presentation. I think that's before you did any big production and everything else. We did a show together, a broadcast together on TCN. That's donkey years ago, and I've seen you grow, and I congratulate you on this venture.
I think you're muted, Junior. Junior, I think you're muted. I'm not sure what happened there. But if you can just unmute so we can hear you. For some reason, it just muted you there. There we go. Yes.
Now, what happened is it's a crazy connection that I'm having here. So I've seen you grown, and I'd like to congratulate you on this great venture. Now, the history of of what the history what you presented last week in last week's edition. I thought it was so necessary because a lot of time people forget the history of the jab.
Yeah, definitely, definitely so important. And Adrian, I mean, from your standpoint, you're all the way in Toronto representing for Grenada, even on the Toronto Carnival, director on the board. What was your inclusion? Did you feel like you learned anything new, or was it just, great to hear about the history all over again?
Well, good afternoon, wherever you may be listening, and good afternoon to Chrislyn again. And I just want to take this moment to send out a big thank you to Chrislyn for all her support with the Toronto Carnival and some of our projects. So I want to start off by saying this, and then just a slight correction, Chrislyn, that I'm the director of events. I'm not a director on the board. The board is separate. I'm just
Okay.
part of the operations team. So just to clarify,
Of
as we
course,
like
no
to say,
problem.
for the gardening purposes. But uh, being in the diaspora and being away from Grenada, one of the challenge always is how do we include the culture as we know it in whatever city we may be living in. So we know what job is to us in Grenada. Does job means the same thing to us in Toronto, and can we portray it the same way? Well, in order for us to even get close to that, we must first be able to introduce history and knowledge so that people understand not just job, but they understand our culture. They understand Grenada, they understand Grenadians, and they understand why is it we portray ourselves in the way we portray ourselves. We've known as the peaceful, loving people of the Caribbean. Somehow, when it comes to job and the painting of the bodies, sometimes that seems to be a little bit abstract for a lot of people, especially out in the diaspora. But being able to listen to the history that was portrayed both in both shows, I think a lot of people out in the diaspora listening are a little bit more educated on the culture of Jab Jab and why is it Jab is played the way and portrayed the way it's portrayed.
And Sabrina, I know you are, completely different from soca and carnival, but tell us about what you experienced looking at the show.
I think it was very interesting. Everybody knows that I am not a soca artist because I grew up exposed to just different music and it's kind of what I gravitated towards. So it was very interesting for me to look at it and kind of have a background on what jab is. And I think maybe in the future we could even go into more detail. Like the people who are really versed in the history of jab could really take on the initiative to educate people like me and people younger than I, because I'm 26 and honestly I grew up knowing jab just on the street on Juve morning and not necessarily knowing the history of it. And I know a lot of people who reason the same way. So I appreciate the knowledge that is being shared and I would love to hear more about it because I'm intrigued. I like old things and I like history, but honestly I don't know much about the history of jab.
Right. No, I know Dexter. Dexter knows a lot when it comes to jab. Do you feel like there's more, like Sabrina said, is there more we can explore and find creative ways of educating people about jab, like on the show?
Yeah, I think so. There are other territories involved with the same, the black coloration to play mass, obviously Haiti. So I think it would be beneficial to us to highlight why that particular mass is identified with Grenada so much.
Yeah.
23, when the late Sir Eric Berry tried to ban jab and how that exploded. Then the song in 1991 took the song, drug selling and so on, and made it into commercial music. So I think we have some ways to go in terms of telling the full story. I'm scared that the young people are using jab as an excuse to just play mass. I want to be a jab or play jab, and it's just an excuse to drink from and and roam the street and so on. But to me, jab signifies our rebellious spirit. The fact that not we don't listen to authorities, but we expect more from authorities when they try to stop us, as happened in 1973. So there is some additional um, shameless plug here. We have completed the documentary on Jambalaya online, so you can get a feel for where the music came from, how it came about, and it is important to note that it was a deliberate attempt to take the sound of the street and make it into commercial music. But in terms of the significance of the chains and the whips and the snake and the whole oil and so on, and that transformation from molasses to whole oil and tar and so on, I think we owe it to our young people to impart knowledge to the Sabrinas and so on of the world.
Yeah. I would like to know more. I really would.
Yeah.
It would give it just more weight, than
I agree,
just us
because
fitting.
Exactly.
so many people think that it's just, bacchanal in the street as compared to understanding the significance of jab. Miss
Yeah.
Wells spoke about the connection with carnival and emancipation. She spoke about the enslaved Africans and their experiences and how that led to the jab jab spelling that we knew of today. And to me, it blew my mind, honestly, because I learned a lot, even as someone who grew up in culture. There's still so much more I think we can do in terms of educating people on our culture. And I love to hear that there's a documentary. I watched that documentary by Jambalasi together with Dexter and so forth. And I'm looking forward to many more ways of us documenting our culture,
Where can
So-
I find that documentary? Where could I find that documentary if I needed it?
It's on just Grenada on YouTube.
Okay.
Go to Made in Grenada on YouTube. And it's
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, free for viewing, which is awesome as well. So there's no excuse. Now let's look.
I just wanted to add just before we move on. I think there is a real necessity for us to make sure that the young people, especially the younger people, are educated on aspects of carnival as a whole, and specifically jab jab, because it's such a unique form of celebrating carnival. I mean, sometimes we're very critical, especially when you come out here in the diaspora. You see it as being a greater need, because a lot of young people here play carnival because they see someone else playing it, or they play it because they think it's a cool thing to do, or in some ways to go on the street and be disorderly, or break a rule or two. So at the end of the day, it is our job, it's our duty to ensure that we not only present carnival in its forms, but we also present the education of carnival in its true forms.
Completely agreed. Well said, Adrian. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for that. And we're talking so much about the jab jab. Let's get a little snippet, a little rewind of the jab jab on This Is Jab Jab.
Boy to walk away, we want we holiday. Tell the black boy to walk away, we want we holiday. Tell the black boy to walk away, we want we holiday. Tell the black boy to walk away, we want we holiday. Jab jab is a blaze of fire, jab jab is a blaze of fire, jab jab is a blaze of fire, jab jab is a blaze. Jab jab is a blaze of fire. Jab jab is a blaze of fire. Jab jab is a blaze of fire. Jab jab is a blaze. Jab jab is a blaze of fire. Jab jab is a blaze of fire. Jab jab is a blaze of fire.
The job is controversial.
I tell you. You're muted, Chrislyn.
There. Now, Dexter, I know you have a lot to say. We're going to come back in terms of the jab, but I want to zoom in on Adrian a bit, because the This Is Jab show is really Adrian's fault. So Adrian, talk to us a little bit about how this project came together for you, and how we made it happen in such a short space of time.
Okay, I'm gonna try to be very brief. I know we can this could take a whole day, but I'll try to do it in a minute or so. Again, I want to use this opportunity to be thankful of Upstage, the production, but specifically Crystalline or Missy Chrissy, as everyone knows her. So what happened is about, I don't know, about 10 days prior to the actual show, which was the 31st of July, I contacted Chris Lynn and I said, listen, I think we have a very unique opportunity here to sort of broadcast the culture of jab jab in a time when everybody's viewing things from the phone, from the iPod, from the television, from what is actually considered to be a permissible. So people are not now giving us permission to sell what we believe we have that's very unique. The CEO of the Toronto Carnival, Anissa Omarali, she actually said to me, Adrian, we want to devote the Friday evening of our virtual to job, seeing that Friday evening is the evening before Carnival. So can you come up with something? Can you produce something that we can put out there to the world? And that's where Christine came in. I just basically gave her general ideas as what we were trying to accomplish, what our objectives were. And our objectives was very simple. Number one, we wanted to show people the true origin of Jab Jab. We wanted to broadcast something live from Grenada to show people that even during a COVID or quarantine or restricted travel time, we can still show Grenada's true performance of the Jab Jab music live. We will give the artists an opportunity to also promote their songs, their music, but be the ambassadors that we know that they have been selected to be. So the objective was, let's produce a show that can show the true meaning, the true origin. Let's try to create content so that the world can see Jab Jab in its true sense, with its origin being Grenada, the Isles of Spice. And that's where I turn it over to Chrislyn.
Well said, well said. So, we really made a huge project happen in a short space of time, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. It's a huge show we produced, and I thought we definitely covered those objectives. So let's take a little rewind now with some of the elements. We just looked at the Jab Jab, but we had some performers on there that all fit within that Jab Jab theme. So let's do our little rewind right now.
Most important thing about the jab is the ability to read and spell. Because the European
When you see we Juve morning, as soon as you reach, it's fire, fire, fire. I beg you please, no water when we touch down, we reach.
I tell you, we reach and we live. We reach and we live right now, everybody.
They liking the same comments. Start the mass.
The Panaman and the real man like me. I'm telling you something. The Panaman and the real man is friend. This is not no joke. The Panaman and the real man like me. I'm telling you something. I'm telling you.
What they doing?
I'm telling you something. They working together. They taking us together.
They sharing the life together.
You always see them together.
Papa describing how she feel it. She feel it. She feel it. She feel it. When she hear the real. She Papa describing how she feel it. She feel it. She feel it. She feel it right. Hey. Start to move like Jack. Start to move like Jack Jack. Start to move like Jack. Start to move like Jack Jack. Start to move like Jack. Start to move like Jack Jack. Start to move like Jack. Jack Jack man. I'm Jack for the mind. They want Jack for the mind. They want Jack for the mind. Everybody. See Jack for the mind. See Jack for the mind.
Now that was some entertainment. Let's do a little rewind. We had DJ Scratchmaster, we had DJ Fearless Kevon, Hits, Temptress, as well as Jab King, all in the first half of the show. Sabrina, as a performer, a recording artist, what was your impression of those performances?
Energy. Real energy. And I'm not the one for energy. So it's always good for me to look at different performances and just see like, yo, they really went out and went in, and you could see that they have a passion for what they're doing. They put work and time and effort into making it sound a certain way so that they keep true to the whole jab culture. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a good time.
Nice, nice. Now, Junior, you're back with us. Tell us
Yeah.
your perspective in terms of the New York crew, the Grenadian crew, the Caribbean crew watching these performances. What do you think they got out of them?
Yeah, we homesick. We just sad that we couldn't be there. You know what I mean? You're really killing us, by the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can't be there to be a part of this stuff, and we just sweating. But no, true. As Sabrina said, it was pure energy. It was real energy, and the kind of energy we like to be a part of. But at least looking at it on upstage TV show, it kind of at least sobering a little bit. It's kind of chilling a little bit that we could be a part of it. But it was pure energy and pure vibes. It was a lot of fun.
Nice, nice. I'm glad to hear that. Dexter, you've been around performances and culture for a while. What do you think about these performances, Jab King, Temptress, and Hits? Anything stood out for you about them?
What is amazing is that the guys continue to have this energy throughout the lockdown. All of the performances are to television cameras or to a audience that is not within the vicinity, and somehow they are able to maintain the same energy, which is a great advertisement for Grenada's music and for Grenada's carnival. Um, we saw, I think, what the Jamaica Tourism Board did with Sumfest a couple of weeks ago, and what is happening for Grenada. And congrats to Missy Chrissy and all the others who are using the platforms. These are magnificent advertisements for Grenada, for Grenada's culture, for Grenada's entertainment, for Grenada's carnival. And congratulations to the artists that they are not just showing up, they actually come in full force and putting on full performances with the energy as if they were in front of a live audience having a wonderful time. So congrats to all.
Yeah, well said. Now, Adrian, this is all your fault. We're blaming it on you. What's the Toronto vibe like when it comes to seeing these performances, especially the fact that Jab King, Temptress, and Hits are not as well known as Talpri and Lil Natty and Thunda in the diaspora? How do you think people took their performances?
First of all, I want to say that from the operations and management team from the Toronto Carnival, I was on the phone with both the COO and the CEO this morning. This event sort of got a 101% and probably a A++ rating from everyone who, and a very good friend of mine who actually, he's the director of logistics. His name is Kwesi Thomas for the Toronto Carnival. He said to me, this looked like it was produced in a high-end studio somewhere in Hollywood. So the whole production, he was amazed. He was not surprised because he's seen and worked with Grenadian talent before because we're very close and we work together. So from those entities, we were able to receive, raving success and appreciation and applause. From the community itself, I think it's similar to what Junior just said. I got the phone calls from the revelers who told me if we had to do that to them, in their own words, right? Because just being able to see the real job, the job as they were looking for. I was speaking with someone this morning, and most of us would have either landed in Grenada yesterday, the day before. We usually travel right after the Toronto Carnival. So most people would have just been either checking into their hotels or checking into their families' homes. So there's a real tabanka going on, and it's just the way it is. But other than that, I think from the reception of the artists that they are not too familiar with, it tells them that our culture has growth, and our culture is not just centered around the artists that they continually see all the time. And that's part of the reason why we wanted to do this also, because we wanted to make it easy to promote the rest of Grenadian talents that we know we have. So I think this gave us a real push to be able to do that going forward.
Lovely, lovely. That's fantastic to hear. And shout out to your whole Toronto Carnival crew and committee that, stood behind us and enjoyed the show as well. Now, let's do a little rewind on Lil Natty and Thunda as well as Talpre's performance on This Is Jab Jab.
You the body sting out on the floor. Make your body bounce and drop it low. You give me the same wine from me. Then your back and make your waist wind up. And make that mama think of make it talk. Take your back and make your and make that thing shake up. Mama think of it. I play no wicked job. I play no wicked. I play no wicked. They go up and say I play no wicked job. I play no. What's the job on them, no man? What them? All you do, do, do. All you do, do, do. All you do. What them? Why? His hands say yo. His hands say yo. His eyes say yo. What's that say yo? Everybody, watch out, everybody from this side. Lordy, look like funny body, yo. What's up, I'm at 20, yo. Roy, this is shine, yo. We have the time, yo. We have the time, yo. Lordy, look like funny. Look like funny body, yo. What's this? Start to run. Throw everything up in the air.
Yes.
Oh Lord.
Throw something up in the
I
air.
see you playing a mass over there. I see you playing a mass.
It's okay.
Oh my god.
As Junior mentioned, not Junior, sorry, Dexter mentioned that the switch from performing in front of a live audience to performing in front of a camera. What really helps, it is really a different experience and the artists really have to switch something in their minds. But what really helps is a live band. The live band really just helps to translate that energy. They really killed it. That band was boss. They really handled themselves. I really enjoyed the band. It helps. The live music helps. So big up to you, Kristen, for making sure that happened there.
Nice, yeah. Big up to the action band, Lil Natty and Thunda's band, backing everyone. So that's good. Junior, how are you feeling about Lil Natty and Thunda as well as Talpre Upstage?
Let me tell you, Chrissy, Little Natty and Thunda have always been my favorite performer, right? They travel all over and they've always come hard. And as Dexter said, and it makes a lot of sense, and I was trying to understand now, do you have an audience there that is hyping them? Because a lot of people can't perform and give off all that energy if they don't feel the vibe of the audience. And the fact that those artists can perform minus the audience, just the cameras, it's an amazing thing, eh? So I think Natty and Thunda and all the artists need to be commended for being able to do that, to bring that energy, to bring that vibe. And there's just some probably production people and one or two cameras that's roving around. So that even shows that the artists, Natty and other artists, are so powerful and they have grown so much in the performance. And that speaks out volumes for the culture and the artists.
Indeed. And I think there's something about performing to cameras that also expands the possibilities of what you can do, because it is different performing on a Soca Monarch stage, a party, and now cameras, because, that's something we work on in rehearsal. You have to connect with the cameras. You have to be aware of where the cameras are. You know what I mean? So those are all things as well. Adrian, how are you feeling about Lil Natty and Talpre and Thunda? I know you love them all, but anything unique that stood out from the performances?
Well, first of all, let me take 2 seconds to say this, right? I have a very long history with Grenadian Calypsonians, Grenadian soca artists, Grenadian job artists. We have probably promoted over 85% of Grenadian artists here in Toronto. We have been doing like WASFET, in Toronto 3 years in a row, and we have seen it grown into an unbelievable event, So my relationship with Grenadian artists, I consider that to be one of the best relationships I have, in Grenada. So when I see these guys that I'm accustomed to seeing on a stage in front of thousands of people performing at a high clip, and now I see them with a mic and a camera performing at even a higher clip, I will say this, and I will go on record for saying this. I thought this was the best I've seen Talpre in a very, very long time. and other people have called and said the same thing. Tarpey was epic. Little Natty and Thunda, obviously, as Junior's rightly said, they have become the Grenada international ambassadors of the music. They're traveling everywhere. And the good thing about our artists, and I'm going to say this right here, whenever they are outside of Grenada, they represent Grenada at a high clip. Their professionalism, the way they carry themselves, their friendliness, the way they sell the flag. I think they're at the top of the list of artists from anywhere in the world for doing this. And I think Friday night and the previous last Monday, I thought we saw this being exemplified at the highest level. And I must say congratulations to our Grenadian artists for being who they are and for staying true to the music.
Well said. And there's a little discussion we had on the Lil Natty against Thunda show, which is talking about the significance of Top Striker and the fact that when Top Striker was released in 2017, compared to after, Spice Mass visitor arrivals, that 2-week period for Carnival, it actually went up by 3,000. And then it continued to climb. And I feel like there's an importance of discussing how music sells Spice Mass. Junior and Dexter, I'm sure you know a lot about that. Dexter, do you want to chime in here on that topic?
Yeah, well, first, it's very interesting, and it was good to see Talpri and Wasways on the same stage. And Wasways have, in effect, carry on the mantle of Talpri. I mean, Talpri with Oluman in 1999, 2000, toured the entire world, gave rise to the jab movement as far as the music was concerned. And as you mentioned, Top Strike and what Little Natty and Thunda has done, they have continued that relay. They've taken the baton and moved on. So it was very interesting to see them sharing a stage together. Now, and it is important that we look at the effect of the music and what the Grenada music has done for visitor arrivals. So it's all well and good to say that, you know, thousands and thousands of people are coming in and so on. And for the very first time, we are seeing probably more non-returning nationals. So the people like Adrian and Junior and so on, they would come in year out. And for those of us who lived in the diaspora, you know, it's a pilgrimage every carnival. But you have persons from other islands now, and even in the diaspora, New York, Toronto, London, people from other territories coming into Grenada for carnival. And it is only because of the music, because of what the music has done on Uber Soca Cruise, what it has done in Trinidad and so on. And I just want to make an appeal again, and I always do, for us to take care of the business of the music, so that the artists can benefit. And let me just make one point here. VP Records just put out another Soca Gold, and there is not a Grenada song represented on it. So as much as we are touting the successes of our artists and what they are doing in selling Grenada, we are not taking care of the business end so that our artists can properly benefit. And I would love to see us take the time out now that we're in COVID to ensure that there are the true benefits, whether copyright and intellectual property rights and so on, because those guys are excellent ambassadors for Grenada. I mean, even if we sat down and planned it for 10 years, we would not be able to come up with a plan and execute the way those guys, be it Little Natty and Thunda, Skinny Bant and Tarpey and the others are doing. Mr. Keeler?
Yeah. Definitely. I do believe in artist development as part of the management process, you know, and it's so important to know, for instance, how to talk in an interview, how to present yourself in an interview, how to dress, because that's also important. Voice training. I'm sure Sabrina could back me up on this one. Voice training is so important as well. And I think it's something that maybe we can have a little bit more of in the soca industry. I know in terms of Sabrina's music, you know, a lot of people who are doing alternative music in Grenada that is not soca, not dancehall, they tend to put a lot more focus on those things. But I think, you know, we need to broaden what development looks like for the artists in soca and calypso. And as you said, Dexter, that can definitely do a lot more for us as a country, as a culture, you know. And Junior, what do you have to say in terms of you viewing the music at Top Striker and seeing it in New York? What has that done in terms of pushing Spice Mass?
Well, it's done a lot. right? The music combined with a lot of social media platforms like yourself, even individuals who have a following, they do a lot for pushing the music out there as well. But I want to jump on something that Dexter said, which I think is very, very important to echo. The fact that a lot of artists, especially in this time, should take time to not only work on, of course, work on their voice. Absolutely, voice training is essential, but also monetization, because a lot of artists still do not understand how you monetize your music on those platforms, on the YouTube platforms, on the Facebook platforms, on the Spotify, and all these other platforms. And it's important that they understand that artists right now just basically look at making money from performances, and there's so much other avenues that you could monetize your project or your music, if you understand the business of music. And a lot of artists, they just don't take the time to understand, and I think that really needs to be trained into some of our artists, and hopefully they take the time during this COVID time to understand monetization. We've seen sometimes where artists would take their music and they would send it to a website or a social media platform, and the social media platform monetize the music, but does the artist, do they make any money from it? A lot of them don't. And I think that needs to be Dexter. I know Dexter could teach a whole school on this. Monetization is just not something that they do a lot of right now. It's
Yeah.
important.
Sabrina, what do you
Um,
have to say in terms of monetization? Because I feel like you are doing quite a lot with your music. Is there something
Yeah.
maybe we can, cross pollinate to soca?
I think everything that I have applied with my contemporary career needs to be applied with soca, or can be applied with soca as well, because it's music, it's a product. Um, Let me just say that there are things, there's something very that has seemed to be very temporary about soca, in terms of it usually is very popular around carnival, and then after that people kind of let it slide and don't realize that there is so much you can do between that time to keep your music and to make money while you wait for carnival to come around again.
Yes.
um I'm in partnership with an establishment called a non-profit organization called Music and Beyond. And Dieter Burkhalter, my pianist, is the mastermind behind that. We actually right now are working on a project called This Is Home. It's a collaborative album with about 9 different Grenadian artists, kind of to show people in the diaspora and visitors alike the roundedness of Grenadian music, in the sense that it is soca as well, because there's soca music on there, but also the contemporary stuff, because we are very diverse in the kind of music that we do. And what I notice is that, yeah, people not as focused on the business side of it, as Dexter mentioned, as much as they are on the songs themselves. So a lot of the times we had to ask, okay, so who is your public rights organization? They don't have one. Is your song copywritten? We don't have one. So they really focus on the music, which is beautiful and it's fine, but we also need to put more work and time into making sure that this is done right. So on the international market, we could make some money
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
represent Grenada the right way.
Even from the platform's perspective, Sabrina, and I'm sure you could echo those sentiments as well, where you have YouTube, as simple as creating a YouTube account and some kind of form and
Hmm.
go other avenues in Spotify and the part the Pandoras of the world and all these platforms and I've been privately talking to some of my friends, my artist friends, and trying to tell them like, so what do you do? I'll see a video has 3,000 views, and you're boasting about, yeah, my video have 100,000 views on YouTube. Well, how much money did you make from that, right? How much did you what are you doing now to make sure that in the next 10, 15 years, because you artists don't have you don't get at the time. And what do you do? How do you make money from your music that you made 10 years ago? A lot of them don't even have a clue, and they don't
Yeah.
even interested in learning about it. And it boggles my mind. Even me, I don't sing by no stretch of the imagination, but I vlog. And from a vlogger's perspective, my vlogs are monetized, every one
Yeah.
of them. And if that is taken into the same kind of business mentality as the artist. You singing your throat out every day, and you're not making no money from it. I think that that's a big void in the whole business of business. It's the
Yeah.
first thing you're supposed to learn.
Yeah, actually, Junior, we have been discussing with Music and Beyond workshops that we're going to be working on soon to kind of, we're going to do workshops that kind of shows the artists the steps to take to copyright their music, to monetize their content, so on and so forth. And then, again, it's always up to them to go the extra mile to do it. But the truth and the fact is a lot of people, it doesn't even occur to them to do it. So we want to just start that first step of engaging them in the thought process, and then hopefully they'll take it on from there. But there's a lot of opportunity. And you don't even need 100,000 views on your video to make money off of it. Once you have 1,500 subscribers, over 1,000 subscribers or something, you start making money off of your content, and anything that you create can be monetized.
Absolutely.
Lovely,
Absolutely.
lovely. Adrian, do you want to chime in here? Because you, of course, deal with the performance side of things. You said that, you know, a lot of our performers, they represent themselves well. Are there any opportunities for development you see on your side with the performance element?
First of all, let me say this, right? From the standpoint of I want to go back to the Spice Mass and the contribution of Grenadian music and artists to, like, the fact that I cannot buy a plane ticket, you know, a month before Spice Mass to come home. I used to, historically, I would buy my ticket after the Toronto Carnival is finished because I'm under contract and I'm not released until the Sunday of the carnival, which is the Sunday prior to Grenada's carnival. And if anything goes wrong and I have to stick around, I will not be able to travel. So buying a ticket in January or whenever has never been the course of action for myself. I can't do that anymore. I have to take the risk and buy the ticket. And if I can't go, I just can't go. So at the end of the day, that was not how it was 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And the point I'm making is that what has been the greatest marketability of Spice Mass? It's been the Grenadian artists around the world in different diasporas, in different communities, not just our community. Grenadians will come home because they know where they're coming from. So I think, Chrislene, another conversation we can have at some point in time, and maybe you might think it's worth the while, is how do we discuss not only the injection of marketability that the artists provide, you know, for Spice Mass, but what does the artist get out of it? Because we're talking about monetization. So if they are the main injection of let's say non-Grenadians into coming into Spice Mass or increasing the number of people that comes, what does that mean for them from a monetary standpoint? Is it just, well, I come first in Soca Monarch and I get a prize, so I win? So that's another conversation that I think we need to have when we talk about monetization. It's not just what do you do with your music on a social platform. Now, coming back to the social platform and the monetization of the artist's talent, it's the same conversation we need to have as we were having when it comes to why people play jab, or the understanding of jab, the understanding of the culture. I think if the artists themselves, think about our artists. Most of them are guys, they write a song, they sing it, and all of a sudden they start getting played on the radio and they become an artist, right? That's a lot of our artists. Some of our artists has been blessed to have good people around them. I always use Specky and Marshall as just a conversation, not a comparison. And just at the time when Specky was Specky in Grenada, Marshall Montano was Marshall Montano in Trinidad. Marshall built an empire around him of people to do things. And it started with family, of course, because, of course, they don't have the money to invest in talents, right? But at the end of the day, sometimes artists have to start listening to the people around them who cares about them, because there is knowledge that comes with the industry of the art form, not just the ability to sing a song. So when these artists are educated, and I love that Sabrina mentioned that they're developing workshops so that artists can understand what you do with your music how you protect, manage, and monetize your music. And that's the next level for the Grenadian artist.
Yep.
Well
100%.
said. Well said. Dexter, is there anything you wanted to add in before we wrap up?
Yeah, I wanted to agree with Adrian, and but just to differ a little bit in that before they look for the incentives from the state for what they are doing for Grenada, that they should place themselves in a position where they are independent of the state. As it is right now, as it relates to Grenada Carnival, most of the revenue comes from the state via the competitions and so on.
Yep.
But if you are independent and you have your own revenue streams, then you are in a better position to negotiate. So you can say to Carnival Committee, for example, unless the prize money for Soca Monarch is a certain amount, I'm not going to compete.
Right.
And if you want the caliber of competition and the caliber of artists in the competition, then you have to raise the prize monies. And we see again that happening in Jamaica, where you have somebody like Buju Banton taking part in the song festival.
That surprised me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but they are now being used as ambassadors. So people like Delano, who used to play Renaissance disco, essentially a disc jockey, is now contracted by the Board of Tourism to teach young disc jockeys how to play music within the tourism industry for the hoteliers and so on. So, but you have to gain that level of independence, because as long as you're depending on the state, they are going to treat you the way they would want to treat you. And as we all know, we don't necessarily have the best minds as far as culture and entertainment and music is concerned, running the carnivals. So once the artists develop that sense of independence and they do not rely just on performances for monies, then they will be in a better position. And they have to listen. And Adrian touched on a very important point, comparing Inspector and Marshall Montano. You have to listen. At some point, you have to trust somebody to guide your career. You cannot write, sing, perform, and then still go and negotiate the business deals. It just does not work like that.
Yeah, well said. This is such a great conversation. I love that we were talking about people whining and performing on stage and then diving into all the things that artists can do to develop themselves, which is great. That's where we want the conversations to go, especially in this time where so many artists are grounded. They can't fly out. It's a great time to really work on all these things that we mentioned and so much more. Lady and gents, I want to thank you so much. Well, I thank you so much for joining us today for the Rewind. If there are any last words, now is a great time to say it. Sabrina, I know, let us know the details in terms of where we can plug into your project. That's going to be, it's launched, right? Tell us a little bit more about where we can find that.
If you go onto my website, sabrinafrancis.com, you would be able to pre-order the This Is Home album, which features 9 Grenadian artists, including people like Mr. Killer, Crave, Laura Lisa, Samantha Cole, Tamara Simbernad, Zarina, myself, a couple others, showing and presenting Grenadian music. Junior mentioned that people are homesick, so this is for the people who are homesick, something to hold on to from Grenada until you can come home. And it's also for visitors who intend to come or people who has been here and are reminiscing on the time they spent here listening to our music. So go on to sabrinafrancis.com and you can pre-order that album right now. This really stemmed from, as Christine said, Grenadian musicians being grounded. We started off doing some fundraising concerts. So we did live streams and then we had people donate some money and we raised over $10,000 for the Grenadian artists.
Lovely.
People from South Africa tuned in, people from the UK. I'm just sitting here and I had an order from California right now. They pre-ordered an album. So we are doing things. The Grenadian artists are doing things. We're working to make sure that we stay afloat until things can get back to some kind of normal. And we would really appreciate your support.
Good.
Lovely. Is the song This Is Home on there?
Of course. It's the first song on there.
That's amazing. Junior.
I just want to applaud everyone on the panel here for input into the culture. I want to say thanks to Sabrina as well. Sabrina, you are one of the artists, one of the person that have really exemplified. You've done so much and continue to do a lot. And there's a lot of examples that could be learned from what you're doing. You have your website, you're doing the streams, and you're monetizing your project. A lot of people could take examples from you and continue. And hopefully with the project, if you are looking, because that's something I'm very passionate about as well. I've been talking to artists even on my program and right along. I've been trying to get into the brains and the minds of the soca artists that this is not temporary.
No,
So,
shouldn't be.
yeah, if you need any help on the project in promoting, getting it out there, we're definitely willing to assist in any way possible. Thanks to Adrian over there in Toronto. I'm in Toronto right now, so Adrian, hopefully we get a chance to meet up, and of course Dexter Mitchell, made in Grenada, doing a great job as well. So, and Christian Lackington, you're doing great. So I'd like to thank everyone on the panel for everything that you guys have been doing, everything that we've been doing, because we are the voice of the people, and we just like the music and the artists, we get people to come down and get people to be sensitized about Grenada music as well, and the world music as well. So thanks to everyone and everybody for doing everything that they've been doing thus far.
Thank you
All right.
so much. Dexter,
I'll
Thank
go.
you.
any
Now
any
let me go
final
next.
words?
Dexter is the historian here, so he goes last. We never put the best artist on and then put it, before and then bring another artist on.
That,
People will go home, right, Julia?
that,
So Dexter has on the right to go last, right? So I will go, Dexter. I will take your space and I'll go and you'll go last. Um, on behalf of the Grenadian community here in Canada, in Toronto, in the diaspora, the Toronto Carnival. We actually have a COO who is Grenadian, Chris Alexander, our CEO, Anissa, our Director of Logistics, Kwesi Thomas, myself, Director of Events. We must first thank the Grenadian community for supporting the Toronto Carnival, both here on the ground. We get so much support from the Grenadian community for the Toronto Caribbean Carnival. And that's why it was important for us to be able to merge the carnival with what we consider to be Grenada's unique way of playing mass. And, Chrislyn, we thank you because you were the architect of our ideas. And when I came to you, I remember the first conversation we had, the first conversation, and I'm talking 10 days before the event. And you said that's doable. That was the only thing. It was like blessings to my air. I slept well that night because of that conversation, because I so wanted to do this. Junior George, amazing job on promoting our culture, promoting our history, promoting our needs, and also creating marketability to Grenada. And take a bow on that. Sabrina, I've heard your music. I've never seen you perform live, but I'm hoping to see that one day. I will go and purchase, obviously, so I can listen, and I'll tell my friends so they can listen also. Um, Dexter Mitchell, what can we say, right? The work you've done for artists, with artists, the work you've done for the culture, and how you've probably made it easy for people to see through different lenses, through the eyes of, not just the masquerader, not just the administration, not just, the person who is actually performing, but to someone who has the Grenadian culture at heart, to our artists, our Grenadian artists, not just the ones that perform, but the ones that we know continue to produce music that we can be proud of, no matter where in the world we are. I always say to people that there was a time, I've been living in Toronto for a while. There's a time I used to go to Fete and I used to just be the Grenadian in the corner, right? Just having my own little fun. Now we go to Fete and we have the front stage. We have the artists closing the show. We have the most flags in a 10,000 people arena. We have the most flags. We have the most mention, and our music are making waves. So in a way, what we've done is built a foundation. And based on this conversation, our job has just begun, because now we have to monitorize. We have to ensure that our artists are well supported, well grounded, that they understand what the platform is. And we also have to make sure that the administration, I don't want to say government, I don't like to go that high, of Grenada, who is responsible for sort of watchmen, the watchdogs of this culture, are also doing their part. We have to hold everybody to a standard, and we have to make sure that they do their part. You have to hold us out in the diaspora, whether we are promoter, whether we someone just like the artist. So everyone has to now do their part for us to take the culture, the music, and ourselves to a different standard. Thank you, Chrislyn, for putting on this amazing group of people on this platform. I've learned so much just being here. And again, as I always said, one of my proudest moments is to be Grenadian. There's nothing else that I've done that is better than that. So anything that helps the flag fly high, I'm in it. And again, thank you all. And thank you to the viewers. And let's make sure you guys plan for Toronto Carnival next year. Make it part of your destination trip. Trust me, it's worth it, and look forward to seeing you guys again.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Adrian. Well, Dexter, you have the last word.
Let me just say thank you to the other panelists for the kind words. And to echo the sentiments of Adrian, I'm really happy to be on this esteemed panel today and to have a very fruitful conversation about Grenada's culture, Grenada's music, not just as it is presently constituted, but the prospects for the future. And hopefully, with the efforts of Music and More and what Sabrina and the others are doing, we can integrate some of the more contemporary music, soca music, calypso music, into that foundation that allows for the artists to grow as businessmen and not just as artists.
Yes.
To Junior and Adrian, hats off to you guys. I know how difficult it is when you're away from home to continue to push the culture, to continue to look at everything Grenadian and promote Grenada and so on, and how often you guys come to Grenada and go back and continue to push. And hats off to you guys for doing that and creating that Grenadian presence in the diaspora. To you, Chrislyn, congratulations for creating what you have created and for the opportunity for people to have the experiences that they've had. In fact, I was out last Friday and I was constantly on my phone, like the conversations that were taking place in the restaurants and so on. I couldn't pay attention to them because the entertainment was so riveting. So congrats to you and the entire team at Upstage, and we look forward to more events from you. I mentioned it at the top, but for persons who are interested in how the jab music came about, again, you go to YouTube, Made in Grenada, and the title Jambalasi, the making of jab music, and you get about an hour of discussion from the guys from Moss International and others about how jab music came about. And to the artist, you have to grow now beyond the stage. We understand what you can do on stage, but you have to monetize your talents. Now that COVID is here with us and you cannot travel, you cannot do stage shows, you should be in a position where you should still be making money based on the popularity of your music. But all in all, great discussion. Again, it shows the care, the concern, and the passion for our culture. And that is what we are all about at Made in Grenada. Hats off to everyone.
Lovely, lovely. Listen, I am humbled right now, and I feel honored to be in the presence of all you amazing people. Thank you for saying yes to being on this panel as we rewind the last two shows on Upstage TV show. It has been a pleasure. Be sure to everyone watching, if you want to review and look at all the shows, they are embedded on our Facebook page. We also have a YouTube page that you can check out, YouTube channel. It is Upstage TV show, so you can check it out. And of course, we're on Instagram because, we have to be Upstage TV show there as well. Thank you so much to all of you. Thanks to all our partners. Thanks to the entire Upstage TV show team for making all these things happen and really, pushing through all the adversities and challenges that happen and making it happen regardless. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much, y'all. We'll see you on the next episode of Upstage. Bye.